Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We finally got here. So welcome to Humanly Possible. And I am Don McCarty. Tonight I have my co-host, Alyse. Alyse, would you please tell our audience a little bit about you? I can't even talk.
Yeah, hi everybody. So we've had a little bit of a long intro. I think we've been waiting to try and get on Facebook Live for about 45 minutes. So thank you everybody who's hung in there. We're finally live and we have Tessa Sarich with us today from Damos Law, who is one of the most amazing Aussie human beings I have the privilege of knowing and mentoring, and I love Tessa to bits, and she's going to talk to you about all of the different things that she's doing in the world to make a big difference in the world and everything that's humanly possible. And she is so inspirational. And welcome to the show, Tessa.
Thanks, Alyse.
Welcome.
Thanks,
it's so great to meet you.
It's good to meet you.
Yeah, so let's could you just tell us a little bit about yourself, Tessa, and like who you are, where you are, what a bit of your background story is, how you came to be interested in mental health, and what led you to Damos Law.
Okay, well, I'm Tessa from Queensland. How I started to go about Damos Law was, unfortunately, I lost my brother to suicide due to the mental health not listening and our cries for help falling on deaf ears. Through the loss of Damo, I got more and more intrigued in trying to help those who are suffering mental illness and suicidal thoughts. And so I thought the best way was to try and change the law.
Okay, yep, fantastic. Yep, so you're a one-woman, you started with just you, and then you had this terrible, terrible story happen within your family with your dear brother who was living with a mental illness and not being heard by the mental health system when he'd present at hospital, which is a big problem in the world that we work in. So, yeah.
And unfortunately, Damo suffered paranoid schizophrenia. He had been in and out of the mental health quite a few times. He had 30 plus prior attempts.
Of suicide?
Yep. He was admitted to the mental health and that with previous attempts. So I think that's where I find it hard comprehending how they could walk away knowing that he'd had previous attempts. Because at the time he had been off his medication for 8 weeks and he was just getting back on his medication, so he wasn't stable. And they knew that. They'd come to my place and he told them he was going to do it, and his reasons for wanting to do it was with his paranoid schizophrenia, he thought that his own family were going to torture him to death, and it was going to be a slow torture, and it was going to be extreme torture and stuff like that. He said that to them, but they walked away and left him.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so if I can just go over this a little bit. So paranoid schizophrenia, a lot of people when they hear this term they don't understand it. They don't understand that it can be treatable. So what's life like having lived with a family member who had paranoid schizophrenia, and what did life look like when he was actually well and medicated and being looked after? What was life for him? Because I know that he used to be in the state emergency service. So
prior to his schizophrenia coming out, Damo was awesome. He was very motivational. He worked with the SES. He did other jobs, like working in gardens at homesteads and stuff like that.
Can I
When he became unwell was when he had started to self-harm. He was cutting to the point where he needed stitches and gluing and stuff all the time.
Okay.
He ended
we
up
might
getting,
just do a trigger warning, Tessa, for
yes,
anybody listening.
trigger warning, very big trigger warning. A warning, you know, because some people probably can't handle hearing this type of stuff. Yeah, unfortunately, he was cutting, and when he was finally diagnosed and they were medicating him, he was overdosing on his pills. Just constantly, like, he had 30 plus prior attempts, and this is in a span of less than 5 years that he'd had all these. So when he was doing good on his medication, he still wasn't the same person he was. He'd still have, you know, like his episodes where his paranoia really kicked in, and he'd think that, you know, we were going to do stuff to him, and, you know, like even his own mum, you know, he was scared that she was poisoning his food, and that she was conspiring to have him murdered, and just all types of stuff. But then, yeah, when he was really bad, he was really bad. To the point that, yeah, you couldn't really hold a conversation with him. Like, it didn't matter. Hang on just a second. Sam, can you please turn that down? To the point where he wasn't with reality whatsoever. He slept all the time, and when he was awake, he was just constantly having like mental breakdowns, like, you know, being constantly scared that something bad was going to happen to him, whether he was going to be murdered or poisoned, or just all sorts of stuff. And it was so hard to try to get him to comprehend that we as his family would not do that to him.
So living that life for him must have, well, you know, it was torture on a whole other level. So as a family member, Tessa, what was it like to see a family member who was in that much trauma, like that much torture, and what was happening with the mental health system at that point with regards to helping you and your family and Damian?
I think I found it hard because I still didn't know much about the schizophrenia or anything myself. When I found out he had schizophrenia, I ended up going to get my mental health first aid certificate, trying to learn a bit more about the mental health side and all that. And also because I have complex PTSD, clinical depression, and clinical anxiety. So I could comprehend some of the things that he was thinking and feeling, but I couldn't comprehend the extent that he was thinking and feeling. And so I guess I found it hard to cope, you know, on a daily basis, trying to constantly tell him, you know, I wouldn't do that. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm your sister. I love you. And I couldn't comprehend why he couldn't comprehend, you know, that we wouldn't do something like that. You know, it was after his death, unfortunately, that I started realizing more and more what he'd felt like. But in regards to the mental health system, like first off, they did help him, but I think it became a common thing with them to see him and sort of started getting brushed under the carpet type of thing. I guess like when it came down to just before he died, they just weren't listening. Maybe they thought that he was going to attempt again, but not pass away like he had done before, because there was always something in place, because he was living with my mum. For years, he lived with my mum, and then he was only with me for like 6 weeks, I think it was, because he'd gone to Tasmania in August to be with a girl, and she took him off his medication and said
What
that
year
he
was
didn't.
that?
In 2016, said that he didn't need it, etc. And then I picked him up from the airport in October, and I brought him back to my place because my mum was in hospital at the time and had an operation. And he was that far from reality that he was adamant he hadn't seen me in 10 years, and I was conspiring with the bad people to torture him, and he didn't want to suffer the torture, so he wanted to take himself out of the situation. The mental health came in a couple of times, because when he got back, he started getting back on his medication, and they was coming out to give him his needle every 2 weeks.
Was that making any difference?
No, it wasn't.
So they put him on a community treatment order, did they?
Damo had been on one of them sort of orders for a couple of years, where they'd come out and give him his needle every 2 weeks.
And what does just for those people who don't understand what's with that treatment, can you explain what they were doing with Damo with regards to the treatment with the needle? Like, what do you mean when you say that?
Okay, well, they just came out every 2 weeks to give him his needle. I can't remember what it's called.
Was it the depot?
It could be that. That's what I was thinking in my head, but I won't say it because I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. So that's used to stabilise him, calm him down, and it wasn't working?
No, not at the time. I think because he was so unstable, like he needed a bit longer to be stabilised.
So he needed to be in hospital at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So was your family saying he needs to be in hospital, he needs to be in hospital, please, can you help him?
Yes. When they came to my house a couple of times, I was adamant with them that he needed to go to hospital. I said he's not with reality. He says he's going to kill himself. They spoke to Damo briefly, and Damo told them he was going to do it, and his reasons were that he didn't want to be tortured. He didn't want to, succumb to all of that type of thing. He, told them it was going to be slow and painful torture.
So he was very clear about the thoughts that were going on for him and how difficult they were. He was very, very clear to the mental health teams what was happening for him, and he was very, very suicidal. Was he very worried about hurting himself and talking to them about that too? Was he like asking to go into a hospital?
Well, he didn't ask to go into hospital specifically, but he did tell them he was going to do it. So it should have been an involuntary order.
Yes, I agree. Yes, they at that point they heard that he should have been put in. Yeah.
Yeah, which he'd been involuntary done many times beforehand. It was never voluntary for him.
Yeah, sure.
And so I think the difference with this time round was he'd actually said that he was going to hang himself this time. Whereas previously he'd done the cutting and the pills with the overdosing and whatnot. And he'd actually said to him this time that he was going to hang himself. And yeah, they just walked away. And
Right.
that's what he did. He hung himself. So,
Okay,
sorry.
honey. It's all right, honey. It's all right. It's all right.
I think that was just the difference in his cries for help. He'd
You have a
actually said,
picture of him? The picture
I
behind
do.
you, Tessa? Can you bring a
Yeah.
picture of Damo down, or have you got a picture of him? Let's bring him
Hang
into
on,
the
I'll just
story.
get Lyndon to grab it down because I'm too short.
All right, honey. Okay. In the meantime, do we have any questions or anything coming through at all, Dawn?
Not yet. People are joining though. So
Okay.
yeah. Maybe
So
we'll
for anybody, for anybody who's joining, we're talking to Tessa Sarich, who's she's developed a law called Damos Law, which is a law that we are trying to get through Parliament in Canberra, Australia, so that if anybody is feeling very, very suicidal and very, very worried about hurting themselves and present to the emergency department or into the hospital system, and they do not feel that they are being heard by the mental health professionals, the law that Tessa has developed, what happens is you can evoke Damos Law and then get a second opinion. There he is. Okay, so this is Damo, this is Damian, this is Tessa's brother who died by suicide. He lived with paranoid schizophrenia and was turned away by the mental health system on numerous occasions. He had over 30 plus suicide attempts. Now, just for anybody who's watching, we are putting a big trigger warning on this episode today. It's a pretty serious episode that we're doing today. And this is Damian, a beautiful, beautiful soul. And yeah, so Tessa's just holding up his picture now. So Damos Law is because of what happened to Damo, and we don't ever want this to happen again. It is still happening. Unfortunately, I'm a clinical psychotherapist. I work with people who do go to the emergency departments who are feeling very, very suicidal, and I do know from personal experience they do get turned away. This is awful. We've actually lost quite a few this year and last year from being turned away from the mental health units, and once that's happened, then they've gone on to suicide that day and sometimes within that week. So it's a big thing. It's real. It's happening out there, and we just wanted to shine a light on it today because this is what Damos Law is. So we're trying to get this passed. There's a petition going. So for anyone else who have family members who are presenting at emergency departments or hospitals who aren't feeling heard, this is what Damos Law is about. It's not passed yet, but we're trying to get it passed. So Dawn, do you have any questions or anything? Because this world is, I'm just wondering, it's a bit of a closed sort of world. A lot of people don't talk about this subject. Mental health and being turned away from mental health units is not something that a lot of people talk about unless you're kind of in the direct line. So
we've had, we hear a lot of stories about this world, and as well as some of the stories in the parental alienation world where, there's a lot of people out there that are choosing this path as well, and it's a huge issue. And it's great that there are people like you, Tessa, that are shedding the light on the pain that's caused and how it affects the entire family and what could have been different, and having his voice heard, what it could have made the biggest difference. So
yeah.
It could have, and I think if Damos Law was in place at the time of Damo's need, he would still be here.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that, because I could have called up Damos Law and had a third-party crisis team come in and reassess the situation, and they would have admitted him. I think it's because his workers, was that used to seeing him, because he was a regular person, that
I
came
want to
in.
talk about that a little bit.
And I think he just became a number to them, like a case number.
I would like to talk about that a little bit, but first I want to talk to our audience. If you could please share this out with your news feed so we can get more people here to listen to this. I mean, there's a lot of important work that Tessa is doing, and I think it's worth listening to and supporting and getting behind. And it also ties into the social communication model, the Senpai model as well, that we'll go over later. So if everybody could share, like and share this, I'd appreciate it. Tessa, what I want to ask you is, you mentioned a little while ago that he was working for SES. Now, a lot of people here do not know what SES is, but it's your state emergency system? Service, okay. And that's basically like our fire departments, right? Where the search and rescues, or except that it's in Australia, so it's quite a bit different as far as terrain and that kind of stuff. So that's a pretty intense job. So someone like your brother held that type of job. So there must have been some stability there in his life where he had that, the quality there. And I'd like you to talk about that, but I'd also like you to talk a little bit about him maybe before, what was he like as a kid? What are your happy memories about him?
He was the clown. He was the clown of the family. Like, he liked just to, joke around and play tricks, and, was just happy-go, bubbly type personality. He had the biggest heart. Wouldn't hurt anybody.
So he's the life of the party.
Yes, definitely.
Sweet.
They say you're not supposed to have favourites and that, but I think Damo was our favourite to all of us. All the siblings, like, he was the favourite.
Fun-loving.
Yeah.
Engaging.
Yeah.
So when did you notice the changes coming?
He was about 27, 28.
Okay. So well into his adulthood.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And then he started getting a bit of depression a couple of years before that, like, just started getting a little bit depressed and whatnot. But yeah, then it escalated, and then he started saying stuff that didn't seem right. It had you questioning, like, what's he thinking, sort of thing, like, because some of the things, he started to come out was like, well, no, that's not right, Damo, and then it escalated to, like, into real bad paranoia, and all the comments of, I know you're conspiring with them. I know you're going to kill me. I know you're going to torture me, and he went from being this is life of the party to being too paranoid to go anywhere, too paranoid to eat food, just not enjoying life at all, unfortunately, the last 5 years.
So it happened pretty fast in a short period of time.
Yeah.
So
he started when he was 28 and he passed away when he was 32. So.
Okay. I just put in the comments, it's Damos Law is at www.damoslaw.net. So you guys can, a couple people have asked about, if it's an awareness organization. So what was my other question was about him working for a organization like SES. I mean, that's pretty intense.
Oh, he loved it. He loved it. We had really big floods. think it was 2011 or 2012. We had huge floods. I don't know if you remember the floods, Alyse.
Yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
they flooded down to here from
Yeah.
Queensland to New South Wales, and then we got the floods this end. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was still in Tasmania for the first floods. I think it was 2011 or something. And then the second flood was 2013. I was in Queensland for that and witnessed my first flood. But in 2011, like, Damo was actually in the helicopter and that, rescuing people off roofs of houses and stuff like that. And, you know, like, he spoke about it and he loved it, absolutely loved it. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, yeah, I think he liked, yeah, obviously he liked to help the people. I think he also liked the thrill of getting there and getting in the action and doing it type of thing. So,
Yeah. So he had a fairly normal life and was active in his community out there. You know, that's pretty a risky job in itself. Helping others,
yeah,
making sure that they're found or they're safe, or, you know, helping people with the floods. And, you know, there's a lot of things, like recently even the fires, and I know he wasn't here for that, but, you know, that was pretty intense as well. That was a very devastating thing, that this particular unit actually goes out and is working that front line.
yeah, which Alyse did.
Yeah. So SES aren't firefighters, they're supportive of the firefighters. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you for
yeah,
clarifying.
they help
I was
in
trying to
all
equate
the
it to
disaster.
something here.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So the SES, the State Emergency Service, are all volunteers, and they basically go out and into places where not necessarily, well, it's hard to get a lot of paid rescuers out into country areas and things, so often SES volunteers will be trained to go and sort of stop that gap. So they can be attending road crash accidents, they can be in the bush looking for people who are lost, they can assist the police, they can assist the bushfire brigade. They do a lot of things where they're needed. They're very altruistic community. And Damian was a volunteer in the SES, because they're all volunteers in SES. So highly trained volunteers. So you have to be pretty altruistic person. So that says a lot about his character.
Yeah.
That he actually went out and was doing that. So yeah.
Did he have a family?
He left behind 2 children.
Okay, that's sad.
Yeah. Jacob was 4 and Talia was 2.
Oh my goodness. And I'm sure this is really difficult for them, probably still today.
Yeah, like, you know, it's hard because, like, they'll grow up not remembering him.
Right.
But, you know, they'll only get, you know, the pictures and what we tell them,
Right.
sort of thing. But,
that's unfortunate.
You know, yeah, I think being young, it's probably a lot easier on the heart too, because they're too young to quite understand. I think it's when they get older is when maybe the mental health side might kick in for them, because they'll be old enough to understand exactly what happened to him.
Now, is this something, and if you don't want to answer this question, that's fine, but is this something that was caused by something that he did, or is this something that's more genetic?
My mum's mum, my nan, she was schizophrenic. Her brother is schizophrenia, and he's been institutionalized all his life apparently, because he's really bad apparently. But I think Damos came about, like, he was already showing signs in that, I think, but it was a drug psychosis schizophrenia.
Okay.
Because Damo
So what do you
did
mean?
smoke.
What do you mean? Sorry, Tessa, when you say that, had he had some drugs and then it was
And that's when it really came
through
out.
then? Right.
Yep.
What sort of drugs was it? Do you know?
He only ever dabbled in it a couple of times. I'm not sure whether it was speed or something like that. He'd only had it a couple of times, once in a blue moon with a couple of mates when they were out.
Okay. So it was drug-induced schizophrenia.
And only used a couple of times.
Yep.
That's scary. That's really scary.
Yeah.
So that was enough to switch that gene on.
Yeah, it was enough to do whatever it was in his brain to trigger it all to full on come out the way he did, and because he came out really quick, he never recovered once he'd come out. So
wow. Well, I'm so glad that you're here and sharing this. He sounds like a beautiful soul, and I think that he I guess what I want to say is that he had a good life up to that point, it seemed like, and it just really, was beyond his control after that. So, but let's talk about some more good of, with Damo and what he was like. I appreciate you sharing that about him and what he was like as a kid and whatnot. So you've actually moved on into Damos Law. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, due to the mental health not listening and cries for help falling on deaf ears, I decided to try to get a new law passed for those who are at imminent risk to suicide and the voices aren't heard and they're turned away from mental health. What they can then do is call in Damos Law, and a third-party crisis team will come in and reassess the situation. Hopefully have your loved one admitted, because generally when it is in a crisis like that, that's what needs to be happened. And I came about that because I feel, like I said before, if this was in place at the time of Damo's crisis, he could have possibly still been here, because they could have admitted him and kept him safe until he was stabilised enough to come back home again.
So there would have been some intervention there, and yeah. That and advocacy. So he would have had people there advocating for him and what his needs were.
Yep.
A voice.
Yep. And because, like I said, I told them that he needed to be admitted. My mum was in hospital and she rang them from the hospital and that said that he needed to be admitted through the conversation she'd had on the phone with him.
While she's in the hospital.
Yeah. She was in the hospital. She'd had an operation, and because Damo would call every day, all day long, just talking, just because his head was running a million miles with all these thoughts and stuff. And then 5 days before Damo passed, my mum got out of hospital and she came and picked him up and she took him back home. She rang the mental health while she was at home, stating that he needed to be admitted, but they just didn't listen. 5 days later, he was gone. And the morning that he passed away, we were sitting there about an hour after they'd taken his body away, and Mum's phone rang and it was the mental health system, and they was like, oh, we're just ringing up, we can't get a hold of Damo, just want to see how he's going. And my mum broke down and she's like, you're too late, he's dead. You know, like she swore in it, but I don't want to swear, obviously. So, yeah, she said, yeah, it's too late. He's gone. And, you know, like they wasn't even ringing up to admit him. They was just, you know, doing their usual phone call, checking in.
Just ticking a box.
Yeah,
Ring
checking
Damian
in, making
Sarich.
sure he's still alive. Yep.
Not even go and visit him face to face, see how he is, see how he's coping, see how the family's coping, see what needs to be done, call in another whoever needs to come in to make an assessment to put him where he's safe. None of that happened.
No.
Wow.
None of it.
Wow.
And I validate you in this because I've heard this plenty of times before. This is not good enough.
No. Unfortunately, through starting Damos Law, I have met some people here in Maryborough, Queensland itself, and they have lost their loved one in the exact same situation. The mental health haven't admitted them. They've not listened. They've turned them away, and their loved ones have died by suicide. The week Damo passed, he passed away 5th of December 2016, just before Christmas. That week that he passed away, he was number 8 suicide for that week here in the Wide Bay, Fraser Coast area.
Has anybody talked to them about, I mean, I don't know what you can do, but has anybody approached this particular mental health unit about what was their reason for not acting soon enough, not responding when they were needed? What was going on?
Unfortunately, they won't talk to me. My mum had it on Damo's file that they wasn't allowed to give me any information, and I wasn't allowed to have a say in Damo's treatments.
Your mom's?
Why was that?
That came about because in the beginning, when Damo first started having his crises, he was admitted, and after a couple of weeks and that, they rang me and they said, hi, we're just ringing up on behalf of Damo. We believe that Damo is well enough for a overnight visit, but your mum's not willing to have him overnight as she wants him to stay in the hospital. We just want to know if you're willing to have Damo for the night, because we don't want to stop him from having his overnight release, so we don't want to hinder his recovery, etc. And I'm like, yep, sweet. So I took Damo home for the night and took him back the next day. Because I did that and Mum didn't want Damo out for the night, she had actually gone in there and she had told them, and it was on his records, that I was not allowed to have a part of his treatment. So he was no longer allowed to come and have an overnight visit with me when they wanted it and stuff like that.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I think that's where I was having trouble trying to get him admitted as well at the time, because it's on his record that I wasn't to have a part of it.
Okay, Mum didn't the repercussion on everybody in the family now is really at odds with each other because of this, and not on the same page. So that must have been really difficult, Tessa, for everybody.
I found it really hard to communicate with my mum after he died due to that, because I had these thoughts in my head that if that wasn't on his file, you know, would they have listened to me?
Okay,
if you know what I mean.
Question mark, yeah. Yeah.
So,
So who is listening to you now? Because I know there's a lot of people listening to you now.
well, they know that I have started Damos Law, and they know the exact reason why.
You're talking about the mental health system?
Yes. Due to my other brother, Jay, going to the mental health and that now after Damo's suicide, with his mental issues and being suicidal, I've gone in there to visit Jay, and Jay had already told them all about Damos Law, and I've gone in there like, oh, so you started Damos Law? I'm like, yeah. I said, it's for, in honour of Damo, because it was a couple of workers that actually worked with Damo in the mental health facility when he used to go in there. And so they knew Damo and they knew my face, because I'd go in and visit Damo, but I wasn't allowed to have a say. And yeah, I think they're a little bit wary of me at the moment. And because I had the state politician, the Queensland politician, Bruce Saunders, ring me the other week, and he rang me to congratulate me on Damos Law, and we're going to Parliament soon, just waiting for the COVID-19 to settle down so we can have meetings to actually finalise, all the bits and pieces that need to be done to actually get to Parliament.
You're talking about Canberra?
Yep.
I'll meet you there.
Awesome, Chicky. Yep, we're going to Canberra as soon as we can. We're going to Parliament because Bruce Saunders.
Meet you there in person or in spirit.
And I have our Fraser Coast Mayor behind me, which is George Seymour. So Damos Law.
Got the politicians behind you now.
Yes.
Yep.
And Bruce rang me and to congratulate me, and he said, I just have to tell you that Damos Law is out there. Everybody is seeing it. And he's actually referred a couple of people to Damos Law to talk to me.
That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. You have some really big ears. Really big ears listening to you right now.
Yeah.
Yes. So
bravo.
Shouldn't be too long.
So it is humanly possible to change the system.
Yes. And hopefully not too long, and this new law will be passed.
Yes, and then what's going to happen? What's the future look like then for the mental health system, Tessa?
Well, my hopes is that Damos Law ain't going to be called too much, because the mental health system's going to be too scared to turn people away.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So hopefully when Damos Law has gone through Parliament and it's enacted, then when people who are presenting to the emergency departments and to the mental health crisis teams, if they say, I am feeling extremely suicidal, I do not feel safe, I really, really need help, or their family members are saying that as well, then if they're not being heard at that point, they can evoke Damos Law, and then a third-party crisis team will come in and reassess the situation. So anybody who's at imminent risk of suicide, this is when Damos Law is going to be enacted. And this is major, because of all the people out there that I speak to in different hospitals in Queensland, it's New South Wales and Victoria, as they're the ones that I deal with. And this is a big, big thing. And if this law gets passed and we can get this around the world, because we're all on the committee together, including Dawn and Alyse, Lauren, we're all on committee together to push for Damos Law, then the world is going to be a very different place.
Yes.
Yeah. And people, we will save lives.
So
and all because of you.
Yes, I'm so proud of you.
No, thank you.
What an amazing thing you've done, and in memory of your brother. I mean, wow, that's truly amazing. You should be very proud of yourself.
Yeah, I think the day gets passed is when I'll cry.
We're having a big international party that day, because we've got an international committee pushing now for Damos Law. So
Yep.
it's going to be, as soon as it comes here, we'll try and get it across to America, because I know I've got American friends too who are going through similar things with their family members and not feeling heard. And then we'll figure out the nuts and bolts of it, and bang.
Yeah.
So this is primarily in Australia right now, but it is starting to reach out into other countries, right?
Yes. We want it worldwide.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. And
Yeah.
then anybody else who's died because of mental health challenges, and their family members, we're gonna get this stopped.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
So
our hope.
yeah. So apart from all of these things that you're doing, because Damos Law is huge across,
What an accomplishment this is.
amazing, and then the other things that she's doing too. So do you want to talk about the little forever angels that you make the clothes for, Tessa? Because this is amazing, and it's interesting because I had a client this week who has, well, hang on, you talk about forever angels and then I'll bring in a couple of stories. Yeah.
Okay. In conjunction with Damos Law, we're doing all types of things. One of the things are forever angel gowns. That is, we make little angel gowns out of wedding dresses and donate to the hospitals, and they can gift them to the parents at the time of a loss of a baby who is born sleeping. I came about that as some family members of mine have lost babies born sleeping. Last year, a really good friend of mine, they lost their baby born sleeping, and I think at the time, yeah, that's my boy. I think he's having a bit of a whammy because he wants a TV in the lounge room, but I'm in the lounge room doing this at the moment.
Okay, all right, that's okay. We live with lots of children in the world, so let him be very vocal. No one's going to mind.
And mine's very vocal. They're like me, they're very vocal.
Yeah, good, we want vocal.
Yes.
Yeah, I teach them to speak their minds and speak out.
Good. Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I think to be able to gift something like that to parents at their worst time could be something that you could just help them breathe just one more day.
Yeah, okay, so that's the name of one of your Facebook groups. Breathe just one more day. We've got a lot of groups that you run. That's one of them. So in a nutshell, for anybody who is pregnant, if they like their little baby doesn't survive and they're born sleeping, which is the term that you use, then you create little cute angel dresses out of wedding gowns that people actually donate to you. Do you have a sample of one of the little gowns there? Hold on, everybody, wait till you see this. Like, this is the cutest little darling. Okay, so this is one of the little baby gowns. Okay, so as you can see, it's made out of a wedding dress. And
precious.
Okay, so how do people send their wedding dresses to you, Tessa, to be able to make these little baby gowns for the babies born sleeping? And how soon is the turnaround time? Because I'm thinking, how soon can they get them? Because once this happens to a family, like, often people will have a funeral for the baby and things like that. So what's the process for people if they want to get a gown or donate a gown, a wedding gown to you?
Yep. Okay. What the process is, I'm looking for wedding dresses to be donated, which they can send to Forever Angels.
And there's a website for that, right?
No, we've only got a Facebook page at the moment.
Okay.
For Forever Angel Gowns.
Okay. So you can keep talking.
Yep. So they just send the gowns to Forever Angel Gowns on Facebook. Just contact me and I will send you the details to send the donations. And then I will make gowns and stuff, and I'll be donating gowns to all the hospitals that I can possibly donate them to. So when a parent does suffer that loss, that they're not waiting on a gown to be sent.
Right.
There will be gowns
thanks
at the
for clearing that
hospital
up.
at their time of need, so the hospital staff can quickly grab a gift box and take to the parents. That's just a little dress, but I'm in the process of making little boy suits with little vests and pants and shirts.
So Tessa, honey, your heart is so big. So I can't, like, you're very, very touching. You're a very amazing human being on this planet, honey. We're very, very lucky to have you. And I feel really blessed to be on your committee.
Harassing you on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter, the parental alienation world of Twitter. Dawn and I are on the platform over there, being both adult children of severe PA. But so what I wanted to
harass you away, Alyse. I'm like, hi, Alyse, would you like to join Damos Law and come and help me and save lives?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm all for a good cause. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Especially when it comes to mental health.
Like
Yeah. But what I wanted to know was I had a client in this week who had a baby who was born sleeping, and she was talking to me about that and how difficult it is just during that time. And then when the baby was born, there was nothing for the little one to actually wear. And then the photographer they have photographers come into the hospitals if a baby is there, and they want a memory, because a lot of the time these families need something really tangible to hold on to, and it's so personal. So often the photographer who specializes in these really special memories will come into the hospital and they like to dress the babies in something beautiful. It's sort of it's just so special to them. And so having a bank of clothes there at the hospitals for if this happens at any time and they can just choose which one they'd like to dress their precious little angel in. And then the photographer can come in and they can have all the shots so that they've got something to remember. And
so special.
And the client who was talking to me said it, like, when they got home, it was also about building a garden for the memories. The funeral that they had, special songs that reminded them of that time, and just the naming ceremony and everything that goes with it, because this is a subject that a lot of people don't talk about. This is a subject that a lot of people don't think about, and how it actually affects the families, and how hard it is for the families after an event like this to recover from. So what you're doing, Tessa, is actually helping that healing process and the acceptance process and the grief process. So for you to be standing in that process yourself, you're an angel in my eyes, honey. Like, you're an angel. You're an angel on the earth, Tessa.
Oh, thank you. I'm hoping to upgrade once I'm a little bit more settled into it, because I do want to go to the local hospitals around me and be able to do that sort of stuff with taking the photos. And because I often do graphics, as you know.
Yeah, and you're very, very good at it.
Some very precious graphics surrounding the baby and stuff. And so, I'm actually looking at making little hearts, sewing little hearts together. I've been sewing some hearts at the moment for the Ipswich Hospital, which they give to the premature babies that are in ICU and stuff. What they do is they give one heart that sits on the baby's chest in the ICU for a bit of touch, comfort type of thing, and then they give one to the mother to hold on to. So I was actually thinking of maybe even incorporating that into the angel gowns, making 2 hearts, one to be placed with the baby and then one for the mother to keep. And I was thinking about putting a little pocket thing on the mum's where she can actually place a little photo into the little heart.
Oh,
That's
that would
absolutely beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful and very, very touching. And I just want to say to anybody who might have sewing skills out there, can you utilize them at all, Tessa? Because if anybody wants to get in touch with you and talk to you about sewing gowns, I mean, or really anybody who has, we can go down to the secondhand, what we call op shops, opportunity shops.
Yes.
There's loads of wedding gowns down there that you can pick up and turn into these little gowns, and they could help you, couldn't they? You could have a big community of people out there making these little gowns for little mothers who
anybody
are
wants to
sleeping.
be a collector or a distributor, a sewer, you are more than welcome.
Well, and if you have people here in the States, they could be the supply here, so you don't have to have all that extra shipping.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
You could be my international side and tell them where to send them to which hospitals over there.
Right. Yeah, definitely. That would be really, really awesome. I mean, the sentiment of that alone is just amazing.
Yeah.
What you're doing.
So do you have any questions or anything coming through at all, Dawn?
Lots of comments. I'll see if we have questions. Let's see.
What are the comments? Maybe we can give Tessa some feedback and ask, does anyone have any questions at this point about anything like this?
Yeah, if you do have questions, go ahead and put them in the comments and I'll keep scrolling down. Some people, let's see, Jade said that she has found some experience that they turn you away because there are no beds. So we're back talking about Damo.
That's true. Yes. Thank you for that comment, Jade. Yeah, they turn you away because there's no beds, and that's not okay.
There is lots of reasons people do get turned away. Unfortunately, I've tried to do a survey here with the hospitals, but they don't want to come at it because they don't want to give me any information.
Sure.
And on the survey, it is why are people being turned away, and there is boxes for like not enough beds, not enough resources, not suicidal enough, etc. Like there's all these boxes that they could tick, but nobody who wants to fill out the surveys.
Of course not. Of course not.
Yeah. And I've had people who are absolutely at their end of their, just end of their tether, who are begging to go into hospital, and I've gone down to the emergency department with them, and I've stayed with them as long as I can, waiting for a bed to come. They are in the emergency department, and sometimes, not all the time, because often the mental health staff can be really, really good, but sometimes they fall through the cracks. And I've been back down to the emergency department after 4 days, bringing in another person, and that first person is wandering around in the car park in their underwear. Now, that freaked me out on a whole other level. So that should never be allowed to happen. And that's a true story.
In Canberra,
there should be
have 8 beds.
Yeah, there should be a certain level of dignity of life.
Yes. So having said that, the hospital systems we know are underfunded. The nurses are really stressed to breaking point. They're not getting paid enough. A lot of the emergency department teams aren't trained very highly in mental health, so they're not sure how to deal with people who may present in psychosis a lot of the time. And so over in Finland, because I just like to talk about the open dialogue system over in Finland, which is their alternative approach to mental illness, is about 30 years ago, a group of clinicians in Finland decided to treat psychosis differently. And their approach, known as open dialogue, has impressive recovery rates. And now Australians are taking an interest because it's something that I do talk about with some of the people that I work with, my colleagues. And so it began, one woman's talking about her story in 2012 when her son became unexpectedly ill. He was thrust into the world of responding things that he couldn't see or hear. She says he did seem a lot of the time in quite a bit of distress. So her son was experiencing psychosis. He was hospitalized for some time before being put on antipsychotic medication. After a while, however, the medication stopped working, and later a family therapist named Val Jackson introduced her to open dialogue, which is a model of crisis care conceived in Finland. And so basically, I'll just skip down to a little bit here. She said she kind of put to me what was happening to my son was an answer to a very difficult life situation, and when you're faced with this situation, it could be possible to begin to hear voices or have unusual beliefs. It can happen to anyone if you are put in a stressful enough situation. So psychosis isn't just for people who have paranoid schizophrenia. It can happen to a lot of the community at different times. You can experience psychosis. So basically, the open dialogue approach, I'll just go down a little bit further because this is talking a lot about this woman. Okay, so basically the mental health teams all come to the house of the person. So we have the psychiatrist, the mental health teams, we have the community come to the house of the person who's experiencing psychosis, and they're within a 24-hour period, and they actually start the treatment very, very quickly. So the person doesn't necessarily need to get put into hospital. So this is open dialogue. Wow. And we're trying to get it here in Australia. So it's something that I believe would change everything up. So the community are involved, the neighbours are involved, the family are involved, and the person with psychosis has a voice. So they're very much a part of their own treatment. So, and yeah, so that's what open dialogue is for anybody who wants to have a look at it. There's a lot of information out there, and the hospital system often isn't cutting it. And I have family members myself who've experienced the hospital system, and yeah, I don't even want to bring them in and talk about what their experience is like. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, but it's we need to get it a lot more stabilised, the hospital system itself, let alone the people who are who are wanting treatment. So that's just a little bit about open dialogue now that we've just been talking about that.
It sounds like a system that would really make a difference.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay, we have a couple more comments in here. So Marianne asks earlier on, so we may have already answered this, but I'm going to ask it again just so that we can recap. We might have other people joining. So have they passed this law as a law or an organization? Did I read that right? Have they passed this as a law or an organization?
Okay, the law will be passed as a law, which is an act, but we are in the process of now currently registering an organisation as well under Damos Law.
Good, nice.
Okay, the law will be passed as a law, which is an act.
Okay, I'm going to go through some more.
In the process of now currently registering an organisation as well under Damos Law. Sorry.
That's okay.
I was just trying to share it.
Michael says we often get sent home with a Valium as if it's going to solve
Okay, so thank you for that comment, Michael. Yeah, okay, so you often get
That's okay.
that if you're presenting and you're having the suicidal thoughts sent home with a Valium. Okay, yeah, I know that that does happen a fair bit. So, yeah, if you're still there, Michael, could you comment on that a little bit more, or anybody else who's actually listening who may have had this happen to them, or know somebody who has had it happen to them? You just write some comments in about perhaps what your experience has been, because that would be really interesting to actually talk about now. So yeah, Valium, yeah, okay.
I'm putting a comment in there if he's still there, just in case.
Yeah. So is there any other comments coming through?
Yeah, so I gotta scroll back up here. Okay, there's Michael's. Stephanie commented, her heart's crying. Thank you for sharing your family story. I support Damos Law. Glad I was able to hear you today.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. That's beautiful. That's very validating for Tessa and all the work that she's doing.
Alyse, our sister, says, Tessa,
oh, yes.
you are a true warrior for all that you are doing. Does it ever take a toll on you?
So that's Alyse Lauren speaking. Yeah, she's what we call our sister. Yeah.
You might, yeah, there you go.
You're a true warrior. For all that you are doing. It does take a toll. Hang on, I've just got to click that off because that other Facebook one on my computer is actually going off.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it does take a toll. Alyse will probably be able to tell you, like, sometimes I am very, very active, and other times I go MIA for a while.
Well, I imagine that you're working on this law and having to deal with, you know, talking about your brother and, you know, and what happened is really taking the biggest toll. But does the creativity that you're using in making these gowns and all this other stuff that you're doing, does that help?
Yeah, it does. Like I do find it hard because, like, when I'm working on Damos Law, like, it's a constant reminder of Damo and what happened. You know, just even try and put up a post, you know, like, Damo comes up, you know what I mean? Like, just the name and that, like, sometimes can be a trigger for me. But
maybe good and bad. Maybe good and bad.
Yeah, I still find a lot of comfort in doing it in a lot of ways, because it just reminds me that I'm doing it for him.
Well, and then, every time we say his name, he's living on through this.
Yes.
Exactly. And every time I say his name, hopefully, you know, that's another life that could have been saved. Like, you know.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
this is
and that's how I think I move through it, you know, because, you know, sometimes it is hard, and I do take a bit of time off and a bit of self-care, you know, and because I'm pretty big on the Damos Law and they're trying to teach people the self-care part themselves for their mental health and that. And so I try to take my own advice on, and I go MIA for a little bit, do a bit of self-care, and I'll jump back on. I'm like, sorry guys, I was doing a bit of self-care, I'm back now and ready to go again. And
yeah,
totally understandable.
Self-care. Dawn, could you possibly play our little video, the Damos Law?
I was going to ask you that about 5 minutes ago and I forgot. So
because we can talk about that, because Damos Law and the Senpai social communication model are used in conjunction with each other. So we'll just quickly talk about that for a minute. So the Senpai social communication model, which is behind me, this web address here, is the model that we use. We ask someone, are you okay? And they actually say no. So some of the groups that we run, and Tessa has groups, and this you can use You can use these with any groups. So if anybody around you in your community is not is wanting to learn a deeper level of conversation with another person and to truly hear them empathically and sit with them, we can go through this. It's not a counselling model, it's a listener and a sharer model, and then you reciprocate the model, so you use it with the other person as well, so it changes the power imbalance altogether, so back to an equal power. And we use these in the hospital system, we use these with people in the mental health units to speak about how they're feeling. They use it with each other in the mental health units. We have them for families of people in hospital. It's not just people in the mental health units, but anybody who's in a general hospital community use the Senpai model as well. And this is the children's one. This one here, the little pink one, that's for children, because we believe that children can be community first responders as well. And this is the adults one for the adults. So, and we use this, and
Green
you
one,
can,
yeah,
that's it, yeah. So we just go through the set of questions. So Senpai stands for sleep and safety, E for emotions, M, meet your basic needs, which is food, water, clothing, P stands for physical health, and I stands for inclusion in community. So that's the 5 different basic needs that I believe we need to have filled to be happy human beings. And we can just go through these. And so the Senpai model is in partnership with Damos Law. So Tessa, you have suicide prevention groups, don't you? So if people ring through or want to speak to you, you can go through the Senpai model with the person, and then they can learn it, and they can feel heard and validated and understood, and then they can actually download the free PDF as well, because it's a free model. We've got it in about 20 countries across the world, and anybody can use it. We've got it pretty much everywhere. The schools, all through our community, the police use it with each other, the police use it within their own communities. Like I said, the hospital has it. We have it in palliative care wards. We have it in homeless shelters. We have it on the street. Pardon?
In the United States as well, police departments.
Oh, yeah.
Hospitals,
in Canada. Yep.
Military.
Yeah, the military all use it. The military over in the Philippines, the soldiers actually use it out within the communities to teach the community and hear the community, and then the community use it with them. So it creates a much deeper, more rich connection with the soldiers, with the police, with community, gets everybody talking and feeling heard. So that's the Senpai model. If you would like to go and have a look at it, and go to www.senpai.net, and you can download the PDF, learn it, and pay it forward. If you have any questions, you can email me or talk to me through Humanly Possible channel. So yeah, so that's the Senpai model. So yeah, do you have the little video?
Yep, we ready?
Okay, yeah, let's play that.
Okay, everybody buckle up. We'll make sure. Wow, that
Yes.
sounded like a movie trailer.
Yeah, so that's one of our videos. So it's basically asking people to go and sign the petition to get the law, Damos Law, passed through Parliament. So how many signatures have you got so far now, Tessa? And how many do you need?
Well, there isn't any set amount in signatures anymore. What we've got on the change.org is 495 signatures at the moment. And I've got roughly 500 signatures on paper.
Okay, so that's fantastic. So you got close to 1,000 signatures. So we really need people to sign this so we can get this law passed and you can get it right around the whole world. So how do people
sign
that,
it?
Tessa?
Sorry.
If you go to change.org and look up Damos Law, you'll find the petition there.
Can people in the US sign it also?
Yes.
So
Yes.
anybody can. Okay, that's good.
If not, you can jump on Facebook, look up Damos Law. On the page is a pinned post which gives you the link straight to the petition to sign. The same with in the bios in Damos Law Twitter and Damos Law Instagram. You'll be able to click onto the petition from them places as well.
Okay.
So
Yeah, good job, honey. Good job. Yeah. So for anyone out there thinking that they can't change the world by themselves, like listen to Tessa.
They can.
You can change the world. You can.
I can, and I will.
Yeah, and it just starts from your little backyard, and then just spread the love out across the world. And that's what you're doing.
As many signatures as we can get, we are looking for, please, because the more signatures, the less that they can avoid passing the law.
Yeah.
They can't ignore it.
Yeah, and then we'll be putting that day that law gets passed, we'll be putting up heaps of posts on Humanly Possible about that, and all the rest of the channels, all the rest of the Facebook groups that we
all of my
up.
groups and that, all my groups and pages, they will be hit up majorly. As you know, I've got lots of groups.
Yeah, tell us about all your groups.
Okay, well, obviously, as you know, the first one is the Damos Law. There is a group and page. The next
and what's that one for? What's that one for? Predominantly.
That one is mainly for the new law, but it's also to share anything to do with Damos Law. I share anything to do with mental health, illness, suicide prevention. I share self-care tips, just anything to do with humans.
Yep.
But then I've got we have, Alyse, is the Damos Law Senpai Suicide Anonymous sponsor group.
What happens within there so people can know?
Okay, so with the sponsor group is a place for those who are feeling suicidal, and they can come and grab themselves a sponsor who they can then chat to at any time in their need of crisis. Then we've got First Responders Mental Health Warriors page. That is a place, and all of these pages actually have meetings. So the Suicide Anonymous actually has meetings where you can come and have a chat and get a bit of counselling if you need counselling, do a bit of self-care. There's some fun activities, have guest speakers and all that type of stuff in all the groups. So then the next one is the mental health, First Responders Mental Health Warriors. So that's a place for first responders only, where the first responders can come and share their stories with other first responders, so they know exactly like how each other's feeling, like so they don't feel alone being a first responder. due to the fact that first responders do see a lot of trauma. And so, you know, surrounding that group just for them, I think, is perfect just for the first responders. Then there is the survivors of suicide loss, which is obviously those who have lost loved ones to suicide. So everybody understands exactly what everyone's going through. Then there is the fight for life, and that surrounds just mental health in general, and doing like self-care, and that's not, you don't have to be suicidal or anything to come to these meetings or anything like that. Yeah, just learn a bit about your mental health and that, and you know, get the self-care tips and that, learn how to control panic and anxiety attacks and stuff like that. Then there is, I'm going blank. Then there's the Forever Angel gowns, and then there's the Damos Law, so for charity, where, you know, we're sewing and donating stuff for charity.
Oh, and the scrubs. The scrubs, yes, for the nurses, for the COVID, yes, on the first line that you're donating as well, and also selling some of them. And oh my gosh.
Yes, everyone like, currently. Yeah, we are currently selling scrubs for health workers, donating to those ones who need them at the moment. Then also we are selling a few scrubs, able to buy more material, to make more scrubs, to donate more scrubs.
Wow. I was trying to type all of these in, and I was doing okay, but then, you know, my little kitten decided that she wanted to type too, so it wasn't working. I was having some struggles there.
So all of these links are already in the original post. So if anyone wants to go and have a look at or any of these groups, follow, like, just copy and paste the links. Yeah, or just, they're all in there. You're amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe
and you're a mum and a wife.
Just Breathe One More Day events is where we're going to be holding events. We're going to be holding events surrounding the Fraser Coast Wide Bay area, and hopefully to go a bit wider when I can get people on board who can actually hold it in some other places. And
so is that for the community to meet up and talk about mental health? So Just Breathe One More Day, is that who's that group?
That's actually, you know how you have your local events where you get the food stalls come in and kids activities and stuff like that, bit of music, and well, we're going to be holding events like that called Just Breathe One More Day, and that is to raise awareness for mental health and suicide prevention.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Okay, wow. Now, do we have any other comments or questions, Dawn, now that we're all completely floored and like, it's like, what am I doing with my life?
So Stephanie has a couple comments in here. She liked your question about, you know, who's listening now, so that was good. And then she also said that it's an amazing offer that you made, that you'll show up and you'll be there when she goes to what did you call it, the city?
Maryborough.
Started with the C.
Canberra.
Okay, okay. She's going to join us down there. Well,
she was saying that it was good that you offered it to her. Little kitty, I'm busy.
So
she was commenting about your support for going with Tessa.
Oh, I see me going with her. Sure. Yeah.
Definitely. My chickie's got my back.
Stephanie also says that she is also proud of you. Alyse Lauren says, "You got it, chickie."
Oh, love you, chickie.
Stephanie says that she's sorry to hear about the loss of your brother.
Thank you.
Let's see. That's comments. Beautiful gown.
Oh, thank you.
Pulling Alyse Lauren again, that you're definitely pulling her heartstrings. Loves you. Tessa is a very touching person. This has been a very precious Facebook Live.
Oh,
thank
gorgeous.
you.
It really has.
Oh,
Alyse, Lauren, I am offering up my photography experience to those in Westchester, New York, paying it forward.
oh, beautiful. Is that to go into the hospitals, Alyse? Is
That's
it?
for the gowns and stuff.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
And she says, whatever you need in New York. Jade says, those are precious. Thanks for sharing. See, okay, that was my question back to Michael. I'm not sure. I'll keep scrolling and see maybe if he got back in here. Jade said they often send in the CAT team and sedate people. That must have been a comment when we were talking about.
Okay, so yeah, she's talking about when they're when they're having a lot of trouble, they'll send in the cat teams and sedate. Yeah, and often they needs to happen because sometimes people are extremely distressed. Can be extremely distressed. It's just how they go about it.
Sometimes it's more humanly to sedate them.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very, very difficult job the mental health teams have on the front line. Very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Alyse, Lauren also says when we were talking about the toll that it takes on you, she says that there's times that she shuts down for a little while too. Take care of yourself.
Right. I get drunk and I ring her up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like,
she says, wait for it. She says, take care of yourself, sister. And then she says, senpai.
Yes, senpai. Yes. How's your senpai, Tessa?
Oh, wait, it was this.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
Bill McGee joined us, and he says it's completely understandable that you go MIA at times. I think that we all need to do that for our emotional well-being and to recharge our creativity as well. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Best of luck to you.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for joining us, Bill. Thanks, Marianne, too, and Alyse, and Jade, and Michael, and Stephanie.
Good memory.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Stephanie also says beautiful video.
Oh, thanks.
Alyse, Lauren loves your t-shirt. You need to make some more. We'll wear them. I said that was my part.
I'm actually currently making these ones now myself.
Oh, cool.
Good.
Yeah, we should be wearing them.
We'll wear them to Parliament House on the day too.
Alyse, what are you talking about? You said, I saw the hats. Do we have hats?
Scrub hats. Scrub caps.
Oh, okay.
Oh, scrub caps. For nurses.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I've been making the scrub caps as well.
Okay. Let's see. What else? Okay, yeah, she says yes, right. Okay, good. That was the end of the comments. So, I mean, that was pretty good comments there coming at you with all of the stuff that you're doing. I mean, you have a lot of support in all of this. So, what an amazing thing that you're doing. I'm in awe.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And so is Kitty.
I have a good mentor.
So is Kitty. Kitty's the new member of our family. Has Kitty got a name yet?
We're fighting over the name still.
Well, if Kitty was here in Australia, we'd call her Snowy because she's black.
I was thinking, my son comes up with some that are really hard to say, and it's like, so we have the Viking theme with our pets. So he wants to name her Scylla.
Okay.
Which I forget what that was.
Yeah.
My cat's name's Starlight.
Yeah.
Oh, yelling at me. It's a Greek sea monster, so it's not Viking. But it's still. I don't know. Does that make her look vicious, Scylla?
I'm voting for Snowy because like a little white snow cat that's little black one, like it's very Aussie, but anyway.
Isn't it?
She wants to be
very Aussie.
She wants to be held. She wants to be held. She will walk all over the keyboard just to be held. So
yeah.
And Alyse Lauren says, what about Thor?
That's cute too.
She Thor. Oh,
Yeah.
no keyboard. No keyboard.
That Xena. Xena, is it?
Oh, I gotta open up food for her so she'll leave me alone.
All right. Well, we're sort of getting towards the end of the interview. So, Tessa, is there anything that you'd just like to add? Is there a message for the mental health teams, or a message for the hospitals, or a message for families?
Yeah, especially families, or maybe someone that's in the same position your brother's in or was in.
Yeah.
Okay. For all of those who are in that position that we were with Damo, please keep proceeding, keep harassing them, turn up in person, refuse to leave. What I should have done was turn up, not leave, and actually rang the news outlets and stuff, go to the media, threaten them, to go on the news and stuff, if they don't, admit them and stuff. But hopefully we won't be waiting too long for this new law. And so if your loved ones are turned away, you can call Damos Law, and we can stop the suicide rates, help save your loved ones. But in the meantime, just hang in there, just try your best, just keep persuading, refuse to leave, make sure it's adamant. What I just done recently with my other brother who became suicidal is I went to the hospital and I actually threatened to sue them if they let him go and he did die by suicide. So you could possibly even threaten them with that, to sue them. Hopefully then they more than likely won't turn you away because they don't want that.
It's a shame that you have to make that kind of a threat on somebody that's supposed to put, they're supposed to have that care in mind for them, and you have to threaten them to do the right thing.
Yeah, and so for the mental health system, my advice is to you guys is don't turn away anybody who is suicidal, regardless whether you think that they are or not, whether you think they're severe. Even if it's a case of no beds, place them in the hospital until a bed does come available. Just don't turn them away. Take suicide seriously. This person is somebody's loved one. They're not just a number on your case file. This person is loved and will be missed. Mental health.
That's right.
Thank you, Tessa. And thank you for the mental health workers who are out there who are doing a great job. And for those who are doing a lackluster job and are being burnt out and shouldn't be in the job anymore, please go find yourself another career.
Yep. Go find a desk job or something.
Do something that's not involving people's lives. But for those of you out there in the community doing, working with your heart and going over and above, thank you for the work that you're doing too. Yeah.
Like Alyse.
True.
We thank the ones like you, Alyse, the ones who have their hearts on their sleeve.
Thanks, honey. I do my best. I'm a big advocate. Yeah. So, yeah. And for anyone who wants to become an advocate, look it up, do some research on it. We need more advocates in the field. We need people to go with people who are really struggling if they need to present as well. Part of the Senpai model questions down the bottom. Do ask, how best can I support you at this time? Would you like me to come with you to see a healthcare professional? So this also means going with the person to the hospital and supporting and advocating on behalf of them as well. We need more people in the community to be doing that as well. And take your Senpai models with you. You can be talking to the person, asking these questions. Don't feel like you don't know how to speak to someone who might be very, very upset. You just follow the questions on the Senpai model. Don't go off the questions, and just go down and see what you can do. Step into the space, get them help. Don't just go, not my problem, and move on.
And don't be afraid to ask them, are you suicidal?
Yes, which is one of the questions in here. So
Yes.
under emotions, are you having any thoughts about harming yourself? If yes, what sort of support do you feel you need? Would you like me to help you to find professional help? If yes, let's call a healthcare professional together now. How can I best support you during this time? These are the questions we need to be asking people who are really struggling. You could save their life. We need the Senpai first responders out there. You can do this with people in the community. Don't think that you don't know how to handle this. You can. We together.
Exactly.
This is the problem. A lot of people are so used to sending them off to mental health professionals, send them off to the doctor. You can be a first responder right there and then. You can just go through the model with them. You can save their life right there and then. We can help move them into the system to get professional help if that's what needs to happen. But you stand there and be an advocate for them. Be a friend. You can save their lives. And that's basically all I have to say. Really, that's my message today.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask them if they are suicidal, because myth, talking about suicidal, make someone suicide, it's a myth.
Not true.
The fact is, if you ask someone if they're suicidal, that does not put suicide in their thoughts. No. They're either suicidal or they are not.
No.
Right. That's good.
And often people won't tell you unless you actually ask the question.
I think some people probably think to never ask that question, and maybe it's because, you know, if they verbalize it or if they ask it, it's something that they're having a hard time.
They're going to put into their heads. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's good to know that that's what we should be doing. We should be asking.
And they can say no or they can say yes, and at least you've asked the question. Don't be the person if you leave them and then they die by suicide and you haven't asked the question. Don't get in that position. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I should have asked. I should have asked them because, Yeah.
And my little thing about that one is, though, if you do come across someone who you think are suicidal, don't say, oh, you're not thinking about doing suicide, are you? Or, you know, something like that. Just simply ask, are you feeling suicidal?
Yep, and then go through the Senpai questions. Do you need extra help? Do you need me to go with you to see a mental health professional? What sort of support do you feel you need? And if the person's in psychosis, get the mental health teams straight away. Get some help straight away.
Persuade, refer.
Say that again.
Question, persuade, refer.
Very
which
good.
is you ask them the question if they're suicidal, then persuade them to get help, and then refer them to the help.
Okay. Just put that in the notes too, or in the comments.
That's one of my certificates. QPR.
Yeah. So, and before we go, psychotic episodes, if you're ever wondering if someone is in psychosis, it's usually experienced as an episode, a period of acute symptoms like delusions or hallucinations. The psychosis frequently begins with general hard to pin down changes in a person's thinking and behavior, like trouble with attention and concentration, irritability, depression, as in Damo's case, anxiety, suspiciousness, insomnia, social withdrawal, and trouble at work or school. They don't necessarily mean someone is developing psychosis, just that someone might not be all right. So the following changes are much stronger indicators of psychosis. So if you see anybody who's has a preoccupation with a subject, speech or writing that is very fast or muddled, irrational or hard to understand, talking much less, has a loss of concentration, memory and or attention, increased sensitivity to light, noise and or other sensory inputs, withdrawing from relationships or hobbies, increased anger, aggression or suspiciousness, decreased or disturbed sleep, inactivity and or hyperactivity, behaving in a way that's reckless, strange or out of character, laughing or crying inappropriately, or being unable to laugh or cry, inattention to personal hygiene, depression and anxiety, or being unable to feel or express happiness. So if untreated, these symptoms can develop into a full psychotic episode. If you think you or someone you know might be experiencing these changes in their thinking or behavior now, go and get some help immediately.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Don't
So
be
on
afraid
that
to
note,
reach out.
yeah, don't be afraid to reach out. So on that note, yeah, if there's no more comments, do you want to finish?
Now, the only comments was Stephanie again. She's like, her and Alyse, I think they're running for who's going to have the most comments.
Our top fans, our top fans.
Stephanie said, thank you, all three of you, strong leaders here tonight. Thank you for being here, Stephanie. And then Alyse says, love you, all my tribe.
Thank you,
Aw,
Alyse. Love you too, honey. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Everyone, thank you so much for being here tonight, for asking your questions, for all of your comments and all of your support. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate Tessa and for everything that she's doing, and Alyse for all your expertise and knowledge and helping us work through all of these issues. And to that, I'll let you two, if you have anything to say, or we'll just call it a night.
Okay. Yeah, or a day for us.
Or a day. Or a day. Good day. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.